All right, we're back on the Common Sense Club and the Scott Hannon Show. Going to chat with Lee Byberg. Lee is a candidate folks may remember as having run for the first time for elected office against Colin Peterson in Minnesota's 7th District. Last time around, he was an endorsed candidate there, went up against Colin Peterson, of course, a 10-term Democratic member, long-term Minnesota representative from the 7th District, and decided to do that all over again at great personal peril. And Lee's a friend of mine. Full disclosure, I've worked with Lee and for Lee and appreciate the lion's share of my work for him has been just as a friend and a volunteer. And right now, I was obviously getting ready for a very important campaign, but wanted to talk with him a little bit about the new congressional district lines, but more importantly, just allow him a chance to introduce himself again to folks who are going to start paying attention pretty quickly here to the whole idea of who ought to be the 7th District representative from the great state of Minnesota. Lee, nice to have you back. How you doing?
Yeah, good morning, Scott. I'm doing really good. I'm looking at this great map, and I'm excited. This looks good, and I think it's time to get going, focusing on the big issues that we are facing as a nation.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about the map first, because that is the big news, and then we'll get into the broader picture of you're deciding to run again here. But you decided to seek this nomination and to be the Republican candidate against Colin Peterson. How long ago?
Well, this is my second run, and I'm a business leader. Never been involved with politics except voting, and I love history and economics and all of that. So I'm one of the many others that are standing up for the first time. We see where our nation is going with all the debt and interest expense we are taking on, and for the sake of our grandchildren and children, we cannot afford to be idle. It's time for us to get involved. So I got involved last time and learned a lot. And now we are applying everything we learned into the second campaign, and it's looking really good so far. So I'm excited with this new map as well.
And there's been a lot of uncertainty because of the map. It's kind of tough. I mean, you're out there talking to folks about running for Minnesota 7, not really knowing what's going to be there. So this really solves a lot in the way of answering a lot of unanswered questions that were out there, doesn't it?
Yes. Now we know for certain that we got a district to run in, and we are running for our nation. So all those questions are behind us, and the great progress we have made to date is going to pay dividend moving forward. So this is a great day for our campaign.
And let's talk about the lines that were redrawn. What was different about Minnesota 7 before these lines were drawn, and the lines ultimately that will be utilized in the upcoming election?
Okay, we went from 35 counties to 38. So we continue to be the largest district in the state of Minnesota, and I love it. This is the best portion of Minnesota with hardworking people. They are conservatives. They have strong opinions. They know what freedom is, and that success comes from hard work. So this is the good part or the best part of Minnesota. Let me say it that way. We picked up 3 more counties in the south. So now we only have 3 counties that we didn't pick up. Otherwise, we'll go all the way to the Iowa border. But the 3 new counties we picked up in the south, Pipestone, Murray, and Cottonwood, and these are all conservative counties. One way of measuring that is that during the 2010 election, on average, those 3 counties, they voted in favor of Emmer, 58%. So this is a conservative group of citizens that I believe understand that it's time that we restore our nation back to the American principles. A couple other changes. Stearns County, the old map included about a third of Stearns County. The new map moves it 50% of Stearns is now in our district. So I think that's a good pickup as well of conservative, hardworking people. And the only other change will be up north in Beltrami County, where there's a segment outside of Bemidji that was moved into the 8th district. So overall, I think this is good for our district. It retained and kept together the western and northern and south part of Minnesota. And I got to know a lot of good people here, and I'm really excited about connecting with them again.
That's fantastic. We have a question from a listener. Becky is listening. Becky, where are you calling from?
From Canby.
Canby, Minnesota. That's in Minnesota 7 right there.
That's right.
Yes.
Yellow Medicine County. Go ahead, Becky, your question for Lee.
I was curious. I think one of the biggest concerns that I see with your campaign is winning the trust of the farming community because of subsidies. And I'm curious if you're seeing an increase in movement in the farming community toward you this time around versus last time?
Yes. I worked a lot with farmers, even as general manager of Wilmer Poultry Company, where we produce half of our production comes from independent farmers in Minnesota. So my history has been working with farmers, day to day. Now I'm trying to connect with them to also talk about the future of farming in moving forward. So we are actually spending a lot of focus on creating a team of farmers and ag leaders that will come together and craft ideas of how do we move forward with less government intrusion and regulation. I believe farmers, they know better than anybody else how to take care of the land. They are the builders of the land and livestock and crop and all of that. So we're going to do a lot of work to bring farmers together and make sure that we do our lifting to restore our nation. So I think we'll see this unfold in a few weeks. Right now we are building the coalition kind of behind the scenes of farm leaders, and other farmers will see that happen, and then they will join. So we'll put a lot of focus on ag issues. That's for sure. But that's a good question, Becky.
Becky, appreciate the call. And by the way, that's a big reason why the Republican district of the Minnesota 7 is +5 GOP, but ends up going, Colin Peterson as many times as it has, is because of farmers and their issues. So I think farmers need to look long and hard at this as well and think less about what do I get out of this and more about what does the country get out of this. And I really hope that conversation happens. Lee's talked about obviously some of that beginning, but I would ask farmers in our audience to just look inward a little bit about everything that we face as a country and say, who do I want representing the country? Not just me as a farmer, but the country. And we'll talk more about that on the other side of the break. Great call, though, Becky. Thank you. More after this. Don't go away. We continue now with Lee Byberg, Republican candidate for Minnesota's congressional seat, District number 7. A little bit about his efforts in this particular race. New district, which has been redrawn by the courts as of now. And Lee, by the way, do you have an opponent for the Republican nomination, or are you solo?
I'm by myself, but not alone, because I have a lot of people working with us to create a movement of people that will restore America. So I'm running, and of course, competition is good, but at this point, I'm by myself.
All right, and of course, you had a lot of competition last time, and you swamped that field, so obviously your odds, even if you did have competition this time, would be good. But obviously, it looks like Minnesota Republicans in District 7 are focused on getting somebody ultimately on that ballot in November that can beat Colin Peterson. Why is Colin Peterson so tough to beat? Why has he been to date so tough to beat and had a very easy time, quite honestly, of re-election all along the way?
Well, he's been there for 20 years, and I think we are slowly, waking up to the reality that what we have accepted as people, both by we are all responsible for this, but including Peterson, is that for 20 years we have been growing this government, and now I think we all see many more see there's no way this can go on. The national debt will cripple the next generation. When I just look at Obama's 2013 budget moving into the future, in 9 years, Obama's budget will be spending more on interest expense than our entire national defense. That tells you something about our strength as a nation when we'll be spending more money paying interest than on securing our whole nation, through our military system. So we have a system that cannot continue, and so on. So I think business leaders and other concerned citizens, conservative people, we are now to the point that we are waking up. Time out. We have to go back to the American principles, and I don't see Colin Peterson walk with that vision. I think he speaks a language as if he's concerned about the budget, but you never hear him lead. You never hear him talk. Let's create a movement of people to restore ourselves. I believe this has to begin locally, and we need to create jobs locally, and that's not going to come from D.C. And I think his recent voting history the last couple of years with cap and trade, told a lot of us that he is not willing to stand for true conservative principles. Another example right now is he's working on a new dairy policy that will turn the dairy industry into a government supply management system. Farmers in Minnesota don't want this. They don't want more government into their life, telling them how much they can produce, and so on. So I think it's time that we as a nation, and this needs to start in Minnesota with us as conservatives, we need to come together and say, let's build on what made America the best country in history. There's no place like America. And that starts with local people being very productive and jobs being created by the entrepreneurs and having a small government that allows the people to make decisions on their own. That's what we need to get back to.
I tell you, I so appreciate our friendship and watching you on this stage, because I think you are what America needs. And I know you can only do so much from Minnesota District 7, but if there were more people running for office like you that are doing so at great personal peril, we would fix this country a lot quicker. And I'm going to offer up this program to have regular dialogue with you, Lee. And by the way, invite Colin Peterson to be here every step of the way. I don't want to exclude anybody. I want to have a conversation, because I think if we sit down and have a conversation as Minnesotans, as North Dakotans, as South Dakotans, as Americans, we can fix a lot of what's wrong. And you are a perfect example of what it takes to fix this. Someone that is willing to put your name on the line, to be away from your family as much as you have, to put your very successful private sector career on hold, is an extraordinary endeavor. I want folks to meet you, learn more about your story. And by the way, you're going to be all across Minnesota in the next coming days. Tell us a little bit about your upcoming schedule.
Well, I think we are going to about 20 county convention the next 10, 12 days. So that's really great. I went to a convention last night, and I had a privilege, since I didn't need to leave right away. I sat through the whole thing. And this is the greatness of America, is when you see people sit down and for 2-3 hours they go through the discussion back and forth on how shall we live. So I thought that was just this is the great part of America, and now I'll be going to about 20 conventions coming up, including this weekend. So we're going to put those locations on our website so people can find them at www.Byberg for Congress. So that's what will provide the map coming up. But I'm really excited, and I think people are showing up in good numbers at these state conventions, and that was good to see.
BybergForCongress.com. And by the way, what happens at a county convention? What's the function of a county convention?
Well, the function of the county convention is twofold: is to among the people elect who is going to be the delegates for the district conventions or the state conventions. But even more interesting, is that's where they bring resolutions. And as people, you bring up a topic, and then you debate, within the group, should we do this or that? And that's the democracy in practice. It's not a perfect system, but you will not find a better system any other place in the world. So that's what we are protecting, America, a nation of people that were engaged. They are involved with the issues. They understand, And that's what we need to maintain.
It's been too long, by the way, since we've had Lee on the program because, I've spent a lot of time with him, gotten to know him well, and I know our listeners need to. But find out where your conventions are and attend those. The Minnesota GOP website, BybergForCongress.com as well. I have it up here, but it's so small on my screen I can't exactly tell folks where the next ones are at. But are there any tonight, Lee?
Not tonight. I'm going to try to pull it up myself here so we can say the next one is going to be in Pennington County.
Beaver Falls.
That will be on the 24th.
Kitson County is happening very soon, so there's a number of them that are happening this weekend. Find out where yours is. Go to BybergForCongress.com. Participate. More importantly, meet Lee. And as I say, we'll continue this conversation regularly here on the Common Sense Club in the weeks and months ahead. Lee, thanks so much. Good to talk to you. BybergForCongress.com. BYBERG. BybergForCongress.com.